Hi everyone, I'm Pari. Welcome to Living Your Best Life with Eddie Stone, founder and CEO of Touchstone Essentials. Hello, Eddie.
Hello, Perry. Wonderful to have a chance to be with you today. And I can't believe it's been too many weeks since
Yes.
we had a chance to speak with our audience. And so I'll accept responsibility for that because I've been doing some international travel. And so it's been hard to sort of get a spot to sit down and talk with everybody. So I've been excited all day about having a chance to connect.
Uh-huh. So we're glad too to have you back here. Eddie, maybe we can talk a little bit about the situation, maybe here in Asia more than America, about the virus corona. You have any comment or anything to say about this?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I worry like a lot of people about the virus. And I've been doing my best to keep up with it. And some of the publications we get from a company, we get quite a few details. The thing that concerns me the most is while it seems as of today that maybe the number of new cases in China is flattening off. It appears that the new cases in other parts of the world is frankly starting to accelerate. So if we talk about Japan and Italy and Korea, it looks like now in the Middle East and Iran, there's starting to be more and more new cases and deaths. It's difficult to know. I know information coming out of China is probably very challenging to keep up with because of the size of the population. But the one good thing, if there's anything good about it, it does appear that the death rate from it is much lower than, say, SARS or some of these other deadly viruses in the past, but it is much higher than, say, the common flu. So people need to pay attention. In fact, in the U.S. today, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, made it clear with public announcements they felt like there could be a significant disruption to sort of business as usual, possible infected areas facing some level of quarantine in the weeks ahead if it continues to kind of creep outside of that footprint in China. So I think for everybody listening, and I'm sure they are already, you need to be paying attention, right? If you can avoid affected areas with your travel or whatever, that's important to think about. I know I see a lot of people wearing the mask, but it doesn't
Here in
appear that
Thailand,
wearing the mask makes a difference. There doesn't appear to be any sort of scientific evidence, but maybe it makes people feel more comfortable. So whatever does that, but it does appear that limiting contact in public places and keeping your hands washed is important. And I think that's always been true with viruses such as the flu and otherwise. And then, something we talk about on this show quite a bit is being conscious of your personal health, right? Whether that's the managing of stress, trying to pay attention to the quality of the food you're eating, sort of avoiding those ultra processed foods and some of those things that just don't have those basic nutrients that your body needs. And particularly in a situation like this, where we talk about your immune function operating at its best, right? And so a lot of your immune function comes out of your gut, right? So gut health, paying attention to gut health, making sure you've got plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet as much as possible, limiting those ultra processed foods, but products like we have or products you may find that are similar. So things like our super green juice, which has a vast array of highly nutrient dense fruits and vegetables and greens, also the pro and prebiotics for gut health and fiber is important. Our Super Greens Plus D and other products like that, which are good for the immune system. Immunomodulators is probably sort of that best title for that. And our zeolite products, I'm always diligent about the zeolites because I just know how toxic the world is that we live in. And we didn't need this coronavirus scare to remind us of that. I think it's some close to 90,000 chemicals that have not really been studied significantly are used in consumer products every day across the globe. So all these things, heavy metals, environmental pollutants, they negatively impact our immune function. And so that's why when you look at this disease and you look at those in the population that are most affected and most likely to lose their lives to the disease, they're older individuals and generally with compromised immune systems and or lung function. And so when the virus goes bad in someone, there's this cytostorm, which is an overheated reaction by the autoimmune system that overwhelms the body. This is essentially what happens to people that leads to their passing away. So I don't know that I've read anything to suggest there's a treatment or a cure at this time. We just got to be vigilant and pay attention to our health and try to stay out of affected areas as much as possible. But I think about it. I'm concerned. I think quite a bit about it. We do a lot of international travel, and I'm not sure I'll travel as much internationally over the next month or two. I'll sort of wait this thing out.
Okay, that's great. Anyway, thank you. And today, what is interesting subject that we're talking about today?
You know, today's subject is 5 ways that CBD oil can help you lose weight. And it's funny, as I was making those comments about your immune system, CBD is this really broadly beneficial molecule. And for those that are on our call that maybe haven't heard us in the past and heard us talk about CBD, so CBD is an extract. It's cannabidiol is what we call it. It is a cannabinoid, and the hemp plant, not to be confused with marijuana. This is not marijuana. It won't make you high. The hemp plant, which by definitions from the United States is any plant, a hemp plant that has less than 0.3 THC, and it's referred to as hemp. Things that are that type of sativa plant with 0.3 THC or higher is referred to as marijuana. So separate, right? And what we know is that in these plants, they have a lot of medicinal qualities, but one of those are the cannabinoids. And these are a class of chemicals found in the plant. There's over 100 cannabinoids that we know about that have a positive impact on the body's endocannabinoid system. So we all have an endocannabinoid system, and the sort of management or regulation of that endocannabinoid system affects our immune system, our immune function, metabolism, brain function, autoimmune function, how your body reacts to stress. I mean, just almost everything happening in your body, sort of this network of communication that really takes place is happening in the endocannabinoid system. And what we know is that using CBD, the right type of CBD product, can bring balance to the endocannabinoid system so your body can function better. So for anybody out there that thinks about finding homeostasis, right? That's that healthy position where your body's at its best, or harmony in your body. That's what is encouraged by CBD, cannabidiol, which is one of 100 plus cannabinoids that we know come from a good quality hemp plant. Now, when we talk about CBD, it can be CBD from an isolate, which means then it's just an isolated cannabinoid called cannabidiol, just by itself. We don't use isolates. We believe that that's missing the primary point, which is to use all of those cannabinoids so they work synergistically. It's referred to as an entourage effect in the body, no matter what you're trying to address, whether that's stress or sleep or weight loss, which we're going to talk about in some detail. So we use 2 kinds of CBD, broad spectrum, which just simply means it's all of those cannabinoids except THC. So we sell products that are 0 THC. And then we use full spectrum, and that refers to that full array of cannabinoids, but also including THC. So there's broad spectrum, full spectrum, and some of that discussion is on our website, but other people's websites as well can help to explain that to the consumer. We believe it's important to pay attention to, your source. So everything for us is organically grown. The extraction processes are done without chemicals, so that we make sure it's a clean product. So, we grow it without pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and then we process it without chemicals so that the consumer is getting a clean product, which it's important to me things be clean, right? I don't want myself, my family, or anybody I know using products with added chemicals to them. And so that process is important to us. And so it's just been great. We've been selling them now for quite some time, CBD products, and it's just heartwarming, right? All these wonderful stories people get us. And so let's talk about it in a little more detail. And we began this year talking about weight control, getting fit, if you've got weight loss goals, how to get there. We talked about the types of food you can eat to support your exercise habits, and then lifestyle, right? So sleep, stress, all these things impact that. But one of the things we now know is that people that are using CBD on a regular basis find it easier to maintain a healthy weight or to lose weight. And there's really 5 primary reasons that we understand why that's true. And one is using CBD, balancing the endocannabinoid system can encourage the body to burn more calories. And I'll keep this simple because there's a lot of science we could dive into, great research coming out of Korea on that subject matter. But here's sort of the bottom line of it. In your body, the fat that sort of makes your belly poke out, or your hips look too big, sort of that when you look in the mirror and you say, oh my gosh, I'm not in shape or I'm overweight or whatever it happens to be, that fat that's under the skin but kind of visible in its bulkiness is referred to as either yellow fat or white fat. Technically speaking, it would be white fat, but we don't, I know people mix those terms up. And that is a fat that doesn't have a lot of nutrients stored in it and not a lot of a high count of mitochondria. So what that simply means is that it's a fat that has a lot of energy, but it doesn't burn very easily. It's very difficult to burn yellow fat or white fat. And it's the kind of fat that accumulates when people are overeating and not exercising. So it's a way that the body stores, because it doesn't know what else to do with it, excess calories. And a lot of times people with high carbohydrate diets, a lot of sugar, a lot of ultra processed foods, that's why they get these big bellies, their hips expand in ways that's not appropriate. And so when you have CBD, when a person's using CBD and they're bringing that balance to endocannabinoid system, one of the things that occurs is that it encourages the body to turn this white fat into brown fat. And the reason that's critical is brown fat has more mitochondria in it. Mitochondria is referred to as a respiratory class of components of the cells. And what that simply means is that it turns nutrients into energy. So you can think of it as burning something, right? And that's what your mitochondria do for you. They're this conversion process of nutrients into energy, critical for your life function. And so that's why brown fat is more easily accessible to burn off. And so that's important, right? Because for a lot of people that are overweight, it is that white fat that's so darn difficult to get rid of. And so the regular use of CBD, the research is promising, very promising, coming out of Korea. Good research too about that metabolism, that process. So number one, it encourages, as we look at the research now, it's encouraging more calories to be burned. Number two, this one's pretty simple. It helps to ease temporary inflammation. And one of the things that occurs is that inflammation, there's a lot of side effects of inflammation. I mean, we know people that are heavily inflamed, have inflammatory issues, they're more likely to develop all types of arthritis. They're more likely to have heart attacks, they're more likely to have strokes, and they're more likely to develop cancer. So easing inflammation is an important objective for all of us with diet, exercise, and lifestyle. One of the things that makes it difficult if you have high inflammation to deal with weight is inflammation can cause your cells to become insulin resistant. And so when your body is insulin resistant, you're not managing glucose in the bloodstream effectively. And so when you're having a lot of sugar or a lot of carbohydrates that are, say, high glycemic, and they're turning into glucose in the gut and flooding the bloodstream, your body is forced to make excess insulin because the insulin it's producing normally is not effective because you're insulin resistant. And insulin helps to turn that excess glucose into white fat. So we kind of go back to that first discussion, right, about white fat. So it's not a good idea, right? And in fact, for all of us, we want to encourage our body to be insulin sensitive. And so if you're eating less ultra-processed foods, exercise, sleep, managing stress, you'll be more insulin sensitive. And a lot of people, for example, that are type 2 diabetics, they are insulin resistant. That's sort of part of that metabolic disorder that they've got that's impacting their health negatively, increasing the risk of stroke and all other factors. So that's number 2. Number 3 is improved sleep quality. And here, it seems like a simple thing, right? Why would getting a good night's rest encourage the body to burn more fat? It's really, there's several reasons why, but the 2 primary ones are when you don't get enough sleep, what the research shows is that you eat more. You know, a lack of sleep increases appetite. Most likely the body's looking for some type of compensation. And so people eat too much and they generally eat the wrong foods, right? So those are the bad snacks, right? Those are the snacks that are not good for you and they're going to make you unhealthy. And so it increases your appetite in that regard. And then here's the darn problem with it also. As it's increasing your appetite, it's decreasing your energy level. You know, that's a bad combination, right? Difficult to lose weight when your appetite's high and your energy level is low. So not sleeping is a bad idea. And we know that CBD oil can help people, aid people, encourage people with quality sleep. And it's one of the more promising things about CBD oil. Number 4 is that CBD has been shown to help, and we see this just with a lot of feedback, help people with the management of stress. Well, when you're managing stress, there's all kinds of good things going on in your body, but one is that you generally would have a lower cortisol level. Cortisol is a hormone that you produce when you're stressed out, right? And if you're in a fight or flight situation, you'd want your cortisol to be high because it's going to help you survive those moments. But of course, during the day and all the time, we don't want that. And I look around at people around me, and I know I've had this issue too, man. I see a lot of people, their cortisol levels must be through the roof just based upon sort of that daily stress of finance, family, work, traffic, modern living, whatever it is, right? Which makes it hard to lose weight when your cortisol levels are high. So it can help you manage stress and lower those cortisol levels. And the final thing is that CBD has antioxidant qualities, both in terms of how it brings balance to the immune system, but the terpenes and the flavonoids found in a broad or full spectrum CBD product, you know, it's going to have antioxidant qualities that help out with oxidative stress. And of course, that will make it easier for the body to control, manage, and burn weight when it doesn't have high amounts of oxidative stress. So those are sort of the 5 primary things. So it helps encourage the burning of more calories because it's helping to turn white fat to brown fat. That's a good thing. The easing of temporary inflammation, which encourages your body to be more insulin sensitive, which is what we want. Improving sleep to reduce the cortisol levels. That's the outcome we're looking for. The management of stress, same thing, lowering the cortisol levels. And that also helps out with appetite, just like the sleep does. And then finally, reducing oxidative stress. So I tell people all the time, there's no one thing probably that you can do to better maintain a healthy weight. It's a collective set of things. But if you're getting good nutrition, if you're getting good sleep, if you're managing stress, if you're drinking plenty of water, then adding CBD is this sort of one more tool you can use to help literally fight that battle of the bulge that so many people really struggle with. And people are educated about it. It's just problematic in this modern life. So that's really the subject I wanted to tackle tonight. And I don't know if you've got any follow-up questions.
Yes, Eddie, in this case, for people to lose weight and then they want to use a CBD oil, how can they take that? I mean, how often or how long?
That's a great question. So, you know, we make a product, and you'll be able to find as you go into the marketplace that CBD products are, you know, they range, but we have a 750 milligram product, a 1500, and a 3000. So a single dose would be 25 milligrams, 50 milligrams, or 100 milligrams. And people will have to sort of use it and figure out what makes the most sense for them. It's not always based upon weight. And right now, the CBD, what we know is so young, it's difficult to really identify and do the dosing in a way that we can just be definitive about it. But for most people, 25 milligrams which our 750 would supply, they're going to be able to feel that. And so if you're trying to lose weight 2 times a day, is what I would look for. Now, if 25 milligrams doesn't do anything for you and you got to go to 50 milligrams, we have a 1500 so it can do that. But I would think that something, say, in the morning hours, mid-morning hours, late afternoon, so you're using it twice a day, just to make sure there's enough in your system to try to find this balance to your endocannabinoid system. But you can play with it. There's certainly nothing wrong with it if a person said, you know what, I want to use it 3 times a day. I'm going to use it in the morning, I'm going to use it in the afternoon, I'm going to use it before I go to bed. That's perfectly fine. There's no, you can't really have too much. There's probably a diminishing return. And I think people, if they sort of listen to their bodies, would realize, okay, it's not taking more, it's not doing anything for me. So.
Yeah, like for people to lose weight, some said, okay, you have to control your diet for 3 months at least, or to work out for 3 months to, to get in check and to see the results. And for CBD oil, we have to do the same.
I think so, Pari. And I really agree with that philosophy. So when people say I need to lose 5 pounds this week, I'm like, oh my gosh. So you may find something diuretic or something to cause you to lose 5 pounds in a week, but you're not going to be able to lose 5 pounds of fat in a week. That's just not how the body functions. You're probably a pound and a half to a pound 0.75 is probably the most, unless you're really heavy, the most fat you could lose in a week's period of time. And so what I really tell people to do is if you want to, before you start to try to work on a healthy weight, check your weight, and take some measurements. That's great. Make a log, write it down, but don't go back to those numbers and don't go back to the scale for 3 months. I think it can be depressing because your weight's going to fluctuate up and down that period of time, and you're going to have good habits for 5 or 6 days and then have a bad day, right? There's no reason to throw in the towel. And so I tell people what you want to work on is the kinds of activities that support a healthy weight for the next 90 days. You're really just working on habits. Don't focus on the weight loss. Focus on the new habits, getting into a more healthy diet. If you eat out 3 times a day, can you learn to eat out 1 time a day? And so that first 90 days is really about those habits that set yourself up for that long-term success. And so I think 90 days is, really 90 days probably isn't enough, right? Most people that are heavy, it took 10 or 20 years. It took a long time, right?
Yeah,
I'm 56 years old. I've had a long time to develop whatever habits I have. The good news is in my mid-30s, I started learning about this stuff and my arc of improvement began, but it wasn't overnight by any means. And so, it takes time. And I want people to be patient with themselves and realize they're worth the effort. Don't try to do these things overnight.
And it is for the CBD oil, people can use every day too for the health reason, right? Every day, once a day, every day for a long time, right?
Absolutely. There's no question that bringing balance to the endocannabinoid system is just a good idea. In the same way, even though you may not be sick, you still eating plenty of fruits and vegetables and getting those micronutrients, they're good for the function of your body. Right? The long-term managing aging, length of the telomeres, which are a part of the aging process. All these things are reflective of a good quality diet and lifestyle, even if there's no immediate thing that you notice. We're doing these things because of the long-term impact. You may address some things in the immediate circumstances, but really all of this is about building a long-term approach to good health. And then if you're a parent or a brother or a sister, or you have a significant other, it's about the example that you provide to the people around you, right? You don't just do it for yourself. You're doing it for the impact on family and community and, being that inspiring example of, hey, this is what's important. Look at this and look at this outcome, right? So, there's a lot of reasons for all of us to be encouraged to try to have a healthy lifestyle.
Okay, that's great conversation today, Eddie. Thank you so much for being here. So we see you next time.
We will see you next time, Pari. Thank you. And any questions, please DM me on social media, or you can communicate through Pari, however we can answer your questions. Thank you.
Okay, so see you next time, Eddie. Bye-bye. Bye.